Good evening, everyone. My name is Sam Nasser, and this is the Cleveland C# User Group. A little bit about the group. We meet every month, typically every fourth week. The meetings are free of charge and open to the public, and we cover all topics related to .NET. You can find all the meeting information posted at meetup.com at the link listed at the bottom of the slide. We always like to give a big thank you to our sponsors, the .NET Foundation for sponsoring the Meetup website, and NIS Technologies for sponsoring the virtual meeting space. In addition, please keep in mind participation is encouraged, and like I always say, the only stupid question is the one not being asked. However, when not speaking, kindly ask you to mute your microphones just to avoid any background noise. And more importantly, we want to keep it casual but organized, meaning feel free to jump in with a question or a comment, either verbally or in chat. But at the same time, we want to give our speaker enough time to go through the slides and the demos. And lastly, the presentation is being recorded and will be posted on YouTube shortly after the editing process. For tonight's feature presentation, we have designed and developed true cross-platform .NET apps with Uno Platform, brought to you by Sam Basu. Sam joins us from the Erie, Pennsylvania area. He is the lead developer advocate for Uno Platform. He's also an author and speaker at various conferences and user groups, and is a Microsoft MVP. He's also heavily involved in advocating for modern development platforms and AI tools, specifically targeting cross-platform technology stacks. And when not coding, he loves travel, fast cars, and cricket, as well as culinary adventures. I'm definitely with you on the first two, Sam. And so with that, welcome, Sam. Glad to have you join us tonight.
Yeah, thank you thanks for having me. It's a lot of work, to keep running user groups and conferences. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
So I see that you made me a presenter. I will go ahead and share screen. And give me a second if I can move the actual meeting window off to a side screen so I can look at you. There. Okay. So you hear me, you see me, right?
Yep.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So yeah, like I said, thanks for having me. It's like the two Sams, while Sam Nasser is the bigger, better, more knowledgeable, more wiser Sam. But I'm trying to get by here. I think Sam and me were coming back from a conference a couple of months back, which is when we first talking about Cleveland C# user groups. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to raise my hand and try to show up one time. So here we are. In the chat room, I see Aaron and Dimitri. Hey, you folks. And, we are also live on YouTube. So, hello to everyone. As I speak, if there are any questions, this is, a small group and it's all casual. If there are any questions, please fire them out, and I will try to keep an eye out on the chat. But Sam is also going to read out anything that needs an answer. And I mean, I might not have all the answers, but I will, try to get you to the folks who do them. All right, and Sam, before we start, how long do you folks go?
So typically an hour and a half, but being that it's a virtual meeting, we don't have to clear out any office space. We can go on as long as you need to.
Okay, so I can keep you all till 9 or 10 o'clock.
There you go.
No, I'm kidding. I'm going to get hungry. We are in the East Coast time, 7 p.m. I start getting hungry. So let's shoot for an hour. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. So it's some things are really nice when we are in person. We can raise hands, we can chat, but virtual at least keeps us going from the comfort of our home or office. I would love to ask if anybody is doing .NET that is cross-platform today, or are you maintaining any desktop apps? Are you building mobile apps? Are you building web apps? And if so, what's your chosen stack? So feel free to chime away in the comments. Would love to know. I am an old man. I'm really old. I've been doing this for a while. So I have seen, I think I started doing .NET from the early days where, .NET wasn't even called .NET. It was the old school framework, before ASP.NET, all of that, early 2000s. So I've seen a lot of this evolution. .NET today stands in a good place. Okay, .NET SQL Server. Let me see. Where is the chat panel? Maybe I can have that up just so I see. Okay, yeah, I see the chat panel now. Yep, mostly web, .NET Desktop. So yeah, good to see. So again, like I have seen and done a lot of different things with .NET, but I have spent a good amount of time with various ways of using .NET to take your apps most places. And again, I've seen some of the frameworks come and go, but this is my beloved framework, and I like it so much that I actually, joined these guys. I've known the folks who build Ono platform for a very long time, but I finally said, you guys are doing it the best. So I'm going to join you folks and try to, take the story and make, developers more successful building with .NET. Yeah, more folks in the chat room, in between positions. Yeah, yeah, C# and .NET, and these are, these are good standard, technologies to keep in your back pocket. Many enterprises are building very complex things with .NET and C#. So, keep your options open. The economies may go up and down, but there's always a need for, developers building solid apps. So I hope, Aaron, you get something, quickly. Okay, so let's dive in. Like I said, I'm Sam, and that is my social handle for most places. So like X and Mastodon or Blue Sky and GitHub, all the places. So if you need to get a hold of me, that's where I'm at. I do a lot of .NET. I do just enough JavaScript to be dangerous, but I am squarely in the cross-platform world these days. And AI, are you even real if you are not doing AI these days? So I try making developers successful. I am a developer myself, and I'm trying to build apps, and I want productivity. I don't want to waste time fighting the frameworks. I want things to be quick and productive. So I only have just a handful of slides here to go through and set the story. But beyond that, I would just like to show you folks as many things as possible. Hopefully that doesn't turn off some of you. I am going to go into code. Again, just trying to showcase, it's better to show than just, tell you things over slides, right? So let's dive in. .NET, this is our bread and butter. If you are a .NET developer, it's come a long way. This is a Microsoft slide, but this is not your old school .NET anymore. The old school .NET actually still is there. Like older people like Sam and me will tell you, like .NET framework, it's not dead, it's not gone anywhere. It's a part of Windows. Excuse me, as long as you have Windows, .NET will always be there. And yeah, it's not getting as much investment as in the older days, like pre-2015, but it's going to be still there, getting security fixes. But modern .NET is kind of .NET 6 and forward, and that's where .NET started becoming too much of a big behemoth. Like it's it's a monolith, it's huge, and it does so many things for so many different people, to a point where excuse me, it got very complex to upgrade .NET, right? You might remember, like, IT departments have like month-long things on how to upgrade .NET and the apps that run on it. So gone are those days. Now modern .NET is modular. Everything is cross-platform. Everything is very light and thin, because Sam was talking about building desktop with SQL Server. If you are on a brand new Windows machine, for you to get Visual Studio, which is our beloved IDE, and .NET and SQL Server, like that's like 2 hours gone just to set up everything. While college kids and younger generations don't have so much time. They just want a quick code editor and they just want to get going with it. So that's where .NET is trying to serve both needs. Yes, enterprises need that dependability, that complexity, and all. It's all there, but you also have a very low barrier to entry to get into .NET. So you can target just about any type of apps with .NET today. Your mileage varies heavily on the frameworks that you use, but the foundation is still .NET. And the tools of our trade have come a long way. It's not just Visual Studio on a Windows. I'm on a Mac, but I will also show you Windows today if I have time. I got a Windows box down under. I also remote into some Windows machines in the cloud. So it's all very portable. The tools are great. I use Visual Studio a lot. I use VS Code a lot. Command line works everywhere, and .NET runs on Windows, Linux, Mac. But exactly where your .NET apps run, that also depends a little bit on the framework of your choice. So let's dive in a little bit. We are coming into a rich ecosystem with .NET, so with lots of tools, lots of productivity things at our disposal. So what is Uno platform? What is it that we're talking about? So you want to write once and run your apps everywhere. Now that's the ideal pipe dream. We all know that oftentimes it is write once and struggle everywhere. So we don't want that. I think frameworks and tools have come as far as they can get in trying to make us productive as cross-platform developers. So .NET is the foundation. On top of it, we have built up a very rich framework, and then it's also a platform on top of it. But the foundational framework, it's all free, it's all open source. So, there are a couple of different techniques of, we'll talk about how the UI of your app can be built. You have a few choices. You have a few choices in terms of what stacks you build your apps on, what type of extensions and tools you use, what's your editor of choice. Again, you have full flexibility. But in there, at the very bottom, you'll see a couple of things that are interesting as to where you can take .NET. And again, your mileage varies a little bit. There are, other frameworks, like some are web-based, some are .NET facing, where you can go to some of these places, but investments are not the same for every framework. So we are really, really committed to trying to make sure your productivity and your apps simply go everywhere. So, iOS and Android, if you remember the old Xamarin days, and even before that, like the Mono days, you kind of knew how to do that. And then the latest evolution is like .NET MAUI, which kind of does things for mobile. But then the web, that's a different story, because now you have to kind of go to Blazor, which is, again, fine if you're doing web apps, but ideally you want a single project, a single true code base from where you can target all of these platforms. Web, desktop, and mobile are three very different things. So it's a challenge to try to make your apps run everywhere from shared code and shared UI. And you also want embedded solutions. You also want to go to Linux. So these are places where, some of the built-in .NET stacks just don't go, like, WebAssembly to go to the browser, Linux, and then going to your watch, going to embedded systems. So that's where we are coming in, trying to take .NET literally everywhere you can think of. So that's the Uno platform stack. Now, we think about the whole story during the entire app lifecycle. It's not just about one thing. So again, full flexibility in terms of how you want to build your apps, where. So pick Windows, pick Linux, or pick macOS, pick Visual Studio, VS Code, Rider, which is a great IDE from JetBrains. So simply the IDE and the OS just does not matter anymore. So again, you want to get started quickly. So setup is well thought out. I'll show you some of this stuff, how you can get the tools, how easy it is to check, because modern cross-platform development is not easy. The promise is big, but you have to understand that there are multiple things at play here. There are iOS SDKs and Android SDKs and WinApp SDKs, WebAssembly changes. So it's a challenge sometimes to keep all of your dev tools in sync and working. So we try to take care of some of that pain. There are easy templates to get you started. Once you're in there, lots of choices in how you actually build your apps, from your UI markup. How do you want to maintain state? Some of the design patterns that you want to bring in, like like MVVM or MVUX design patterns. Lots of extensions to help you get started. How do you do styling and theming? How do you do authentication? How do you do state management? What type of UI controls can you render? So all of that is well thought out. So again, it's all about speed and giving you the choice of exactly how you want to render and where you want to render your apps. When it comes to cross-platform apps, this is a key distinction. The UI part of it can be done in a variety of ways. There are pros and cons to every way. When I say native apps, like native UI, what does that actually mean? So your app is going to look like how iOS or Android or Windows or Mac apps look like. And there is something nice to be said about that. Your users are used to it. But again, it's a different experience between iOS or Android. And if that's what you want, you can do that. But sometimes you are maybe building the next Facebook, right? So you want your app experience to be the same consistent UX everywhere. So that's where some of the unified rendering really comes into play. So you don't have to think about the differences in the native UI stack. It just looks and feels the same on every platform. And we do some of that with Skia, which is very, very performant and very nice. But again, on top of some of the core platform, we have some tooling that is really meant to shine and meant to augment your developer productivity. I'll talk about things like hot design, hot reload, design to code, because the last thing you want is a designer that makes your beautiful mockups and then you have to create things from scratch, and that's a pain. So again, just the full story here. As you can see, lots of love. I'm not going to spend too much time here, but again, everything is open source. Lots of contributors, lots of GitHub stars. The usual story. Lots of great success stories from our clients as well. So all of that is Uno platform, and again, I'll show you how everything works. This is stuff on top of it, and Sam Nasser might actually bring this up towards the end. But what you see today, I would love to hook up one of you with a license, and that's like a raffle. Cleveland C# user group will do every month. So I will show you a little bit of Uno Platform Studio. This is again meant to give you that ultimate productivity boost as a .NET developer. So I'll show you what those 3 pillars are, and there's a lot more cooking, which I cannot quite talk about yet. I need like 2 more weeks before we announce things. So .NET, goes through an annual, upgrade cycle. .NET 10 is coming out in a couple of weeks, and we are trying to line up certain things to release with that. Uno Platform Hot Design, this is something we dearly love and spend a lot of time trying to get this exactly right. Something you are going to miss if you come from very old school .NET days is we had a good designer, both in WinForms and WPF. Modern stacks just don't have it anymore. And it's a pain. It's a constant thing that we hear from developers, that you want to have a design surface where you can quickly see how your app is working. There are certain alternatives, and there's hot reload, which sometimes is better called maybe lukewarm reload, so your expectations are a little bit lower, but we make sure that hot reload and design story just work hand in hand, so everything remains in sync for the ultimate developer productivity. So I'll show you some of this in action. And again, AI, you can work with our tools. With AI, we are doing more things with it, so AI is here. So let's jump in. That's all the slides I have. Any questions here from the chat room or the wide internet? Anyone? If not, I will jump into stuff. And again, this is a small group, so please feel free to chime in any questions. Turn on your microphone, speak, or go ahead and chat. Dimitri is asking, how different is it from Maui? Great question, Dimitri. Okay, so if you have known what I do, I spent the last 3-4 years doing a lot of Maui, and I know the team well. They're great. There are certain things that Maui just cannot do, which is why I find a lot more excitement with Uno Platform. And again, every big tech, they're trying to figure out their investments, and investments from Microsoft are not as much as it used to be. So in fact, let me show you a quick announcement here that went out a couple of weeks back. This one here. So we are actually helping maintain .NET Maui with Microsoft. So we love .NET, and there are core things within any cross-platform stack that needs a lot of maintenance. So .NET for iOS, .NET for Android, how you take your apps cross-platform, some of the tooling, WASM support, threading support, all of that. So we actually help maintain a lot of the things that you see in Maui. So it's not, one versus the other. We help maintain, but once I show you the things that we built, you will see why I completely jumped ship onto this. Again, no love lost for Maui, but if you ask me to build a cross-platform .NET app today, hands down, Uno Platform, just because of the tooling and the reach. Because .NET Maui does not go to WebAssembly from to your browser. .NET Maui does not go to Linux. It does not have Skia rendering. So some of those are downsides, but again, don't trust anything that I say. It's always true for every project. Look into your solutions and options and choose the best stack for what you're trying to build. Yeah. Okay, so let's get started here. I'm just going to start here from our website. So again, it steps through a lot of the things we talked about. Select your OS, any ID, doesn't matter. Set up quickly, UNO check and template wizards, and then once you get going, you develop visually, design to code, hot reload, hot design. We talked about some of that. So all of that is there for you to do. And when I talk about the UNO Platform Studio, what we mean is, these fundamental pillars, like you will have hot design, you will have hot reload and design to code. And as I show you some things that are running, you'll see the immediate productivity boost that you're about to get. Things start out here with our docs. We spend a lot of time trying to make sure the dev experience is top notch, because we are all devs. We don't want anybody to struggle. And again, everything is open source. If you see something, please say something if you struggle anywhere. But this kind of talks you through like why to your point, Dimitri, as to where we stand. This is where we differentiate. Like, it's not a platform. It is a platform. It is not a UI framework only. Look at hot design. Look at single project between mobile, web, desktop, and embedded. Everything is free, open source. The framework, your favorite IDEs, any OS. Choice between C# and XAML markups. Again, choose how you work. If you want to bring in web stuff like Blazor, Angular, React, you can do that too. So lots of flexibility, lots of well thought out tooling. So again, look, don't take anything that I'm saying, but go read some of this and try it out yourself first up. So the first thing you will see is we talk about how do you get started. So we talk about setup and other things, but this is kind of the easiest thing. I had it running, so I kept it open, so you won't see me run the whole thing. This is a .NET CLI tool, right? So it runs the same way on Windows, macOS, and Linux. You run it once, you install it, and then you run it once. There's a lot of things, the moving pieces that I talked about, that you depend on. At this point, I have a few trial things going on. I have some, .NET 10 bits. I have some experimental bits of iOS and Android. So this one, you're going to see a little bit of red because like it's complaining about certain things not being in sync. But ideally, when you run this tool, everything should be green. And it's going to walk you through like, I need, OpenJDK, I need Android, I need simulators, I need Xcode, I need .NET SDKs, I need .NET versions. You can see it's finding .NET 9 and some .NET 10 stuff. And once everything is green, then you know that you have all the bits, right? So just run it once and it's going to go and fix all the things for you. So you don't need to go out and install multiple things. You can just trust this tool to get everything for you. And it's not just a one-time thing. Let's just say we pushed out an update, or iOS pushed out an update, you can run UNO check again, and it's going to go get the bits for you and make sure your simulators, make sure all of your bits are kind of in sync. So that's kind of a nice way to kind of get started. So let's start with the command line, and I will show you where things begin. So let's here, if I do a .NET version, you can see that I'm running .NET 10, right? Let me scroll out. So .NET 10 is what I'm running. Now, this is kind of an age-old trick. I'm sure most of you know, but you can actually pin specific versions of .NET, and actually UNO comes with its own SDK, so you can pin things as well. So I have here a little global.json file, right? So if I zoom in, you will see that this one's using a .NET SDK of 8. So if I go back to my CLI, and if I just go to my downloads folder, and if I ask the same question, what's the .NET version now? For some reason, it's not finding .NET in that. It is finding 8, but it's not finding the .NET command. But you get the point. So you can coexist. So .NET is a folder. You can package .NET with your apps and just throw away the folder, re-get .NET any number of times you want. So things are very nice and fluid. So if I do a .NET new and show me all the templates that I have, Okay, let me even back out. So it's not finding it in that folder. So let's go .NET new list. So this is all the templates. This is the same experience if I do Visual Studio File New Project. So you can see all the templates that I have, Maui templates, Uno templates, all the things. Blazor, Razor Pages, ASP.NET. This is some of the Uno stuff. And the key thing here is called the Uno app. That's how you get started. So you can type up a CLI command right here, or you can actually start from a better starting point. If you're in Visual Studio, there's a template that walks you through, but we also have it on the web. So we call this like the live templating wizard. So this is called new.platform.uno. So go out to that URL. And what it's going to try to do is ask you, what exactly do you want to create? So let's just say we want to create a test project. And in here is where you see some of the flexibility that we bring in. Your choice of whatever is the stack that you want to build, and the pieces of that stack that you want to use. Maybe you don't want to use the whole thing, and that's totally fine. So you can start from a blank or a recommended one. Blank is totally literally a blank app. Recommended brings in a little bit of choices. So you can see that I can do a .NET 9 app or .NET 10 app. .NET 8 kind of went out of support with Maui and cross-platform dev, so we're starting with .NET 9. If you want to be on the bleeding edge, you can go with .NET 10. So platform support, you can see out of the box, I got iOS, Android, WebAssembly, so I can take my app to the browser, desktop, and Windows. Presentation layer. So by default, what we are doing with .NET cross-platform is C# and XAML, right? And there are some, traditional design patterns that work really well. When you're just starting out, don't care about any of this. Just go write your UI, write a code behind, and it works. When you have hundreds of pages, then you're going to want some sanity as to how you test. So MVVM is a design pattern, model view, view model. Hold on, it's 6:30, so my lights just went pink, which is not what I want. This is the home automation, right? Let's see. Oh, there you go. Now things turned a little bit more white again. Okay, so MVVM is what you want to do, but you can also do MVU, model view update. This is a slightly quicker loop between the model, which is the one connected to your data, has your objects. The view is supposed to be a little bit lightweight. And in MVVM, the view model does the orchestration between the model and the view. The MVUX is a little bit more kind of like a Fluent style, like what React uses, what Blazor uses. So it's more of a quick loop where you're maintaining the state of the app, and you do a diff on the tree, the visual tree as to what changed, and you go render that visual tree again, only the bits that are changed. So you got a choice here. Markup. So if you are old, like Sam Nasser or me, you might love XAML. Well, actually, a lot of people love XAML. I have noticed the younger generations are a little bit, pushing back a little bit to say, maybe I don't want to write as much of XAML. And that's fair. You don't have to write, because it can get a little verbose, but it's all code, and you have plenty of tooling, as I will show you, where you don't actually have to write the XAML. But if you'd rather do everything in C#, have at it. There's a C# markup, so maybe it's more of a Fluent style. You get lots of IntelliSense as you're writing your C#, so you can do it all in C#. Theming, we start with Fluent, but again, we actually have a theme extension where you can do Material or Cupertino or your own custom design system. So, lots of help in terms of how you theme. Extensions, like do you want to do dependency injection, or you want to roll your own? Do you want localization? Do you want, what type of logging you want, what type of navigation you want? It's all in there. Features. So do you want your app to do .NET MAUI embedding? So Dimitri had asked, like, what's the difference? I will show you. So again, I can bring in all of the MAUI goodness, and I can use it inside of Uno Platform apps. I can use it as a PWA. So again, like, we are trying to give you all the bells and whistles. You choose what works for you, and still a single true shared .NET code base is what you have. Authentication, if you want to do any of the custom ones, or web or MSIL. Application name, testing, how you want to do unit tests, how you want to do your CI/CD pipeline, Azure pipelines, or GitHub Actions. So we walk you through all of this, trying to get you to a good starting point, right? And once you do all of this, you can hit this create button. And this one, I didn't select much. So it's just saying, hey, go run this .NET new app, and we will give you exactly what you want, right? So the more things you choose, it's going to have like dash Maui or dash Azure pipelines and so on. Those are all extra parameters. Then you go run this and you'll have a new app, right? So again, this is just the web-based version. If you are in Visual Studio, then the template kind of walks you through as well. And there is a VS Code extension that does pretty much the same thing. Make sense so far? Yeah. All right. Let's go into a little bit of code here. So let me close things down. Let's start with the very basic. So I'm in VS Code here. And again, there are extensions for it. Let me see. There is the Uno platform extension. So again, gets you started. So all of those templates, things that I talked about, your design time help, hot reload, all of that is built right in. So get the template, then you can start up your apps very, very easily. So let's go in here and start a new, or actually open up a new project here, or an existing project. So let's start with kind of a counter app. We have lots and lots of examples, so you folks can not trust anything that I'm saying. You can just run these things yourself. So you'll notice that up here in our, let's close all of this in the docs here, samples and tutorials. So these are 5 or 6 very, very popular samples that we have. The Chef's app is like a super complex app. I'll show you that in a second. But if you look at some other samples, like there are literally hundreds and hundreds of samples of things we have built with all types of integrations you can think about, right? So take a look as to it's closest to what you're trying to build. So this one here is super simple Hello World app. Notice here, I got a few things to change. So let's just do, these are my runtimes, like my target frameworks, like TFMs in .NET. So let's do .NET 9 desktop. So I want to run this as a native desktop application. What it's doing here is reading this launch.json file, and it has a few launch options like Android or iOS or desktop or WebAssembly. It's all the same, right? It's just changing up how we do the build. It's a multi-targeted project, so we can do an iOS only build or an Android only build, things like that. So that's where it starts out. Now let's look at the global JSON here. This is spinning down what's called an Uno SDK. Now all of those features that I showed you, those can get to be a very verbose if you want to bring in those dependencies one at a time. We kind of make it very simple here. Everything that you choose from that template ends up in here as a Uno feature, and they're simply named as MVVM or Skia renderer. So again, you can choose the things that you want to use, and they are just simple words, and we do the hard work to bring in the pieces that we need once you select those things that you want. So beyond that, everything here is pretty much a simple .NET app that's cross-platform. You have your assets. These are things that are shared between all the screens, your splash screens, your fonts, your icons, your logos, bin, OBJ, that's how .NET does the builds. These are platforms. So Android, desktop, iOS, WebAssembly. Ideally, you don't want to do a whole lot in those folders because, right, it's a cross-platform app. But there are times when you have to jump in and do certain specific things for each app or each platform. For example, your permissions, your p-lists for info or entitlements or info p-list for iOS. Android needs your manifest file. So those permissions things, those are things that you do want in the platform folder, but otherwise you want to be cross-platform as much as possible. Right, so then we have global usings, which brings in all the namespaces that you want. AppXAML is where things start out. If you have like styles, you can bring them in here. AppXAML.cs is also your chance to wire up anything that is app-wide. Again, we give you a few things here to start off, but you can roll it on your own. Main page.xaml is where things start. Like this is the first page of the app that you are looking at, right? Now let me take a sip of water. Okay, so this is meant to be a cross-platform app, but it starts out as a page, and we have a little bit of a view model plugin, but it starts out with an image, a text box, and a button, and so on. Let's go run this actually. So I'm going to check, and this is the debug window where it again reads all of the same launch things. Let's do desktop, and let's go fire this up without debugging. And you can see it's using .NET 9 desktop, like that is the runtime that it's using. So out comes a fancy new .NET app, right? This is running on Mac as a desktop, but I can run the same exact thing on Linux, and I can do it on iOS and Android, and all the places, and web browser as well. So this is a simple counter app. So you can see that I can, click on this, the counter goes up. This one here also does a little bit of the, the step counter. So if I do it by 5, now it goes up by 5 each time I click. So just a hello world app, right? Now, this is where I do want to kind of switch to some of the things that we have built on top of it to make you, the .NET developer, more productive. So as the app is running, so let's just say you wrote all of this XAML, which actually most times I don't write out of the XAML. I let the designer do it for me because it's actually very, very good. So in here, you will see an extra floating window up here. This one is saying, C# and XAML hot reload from built-in .NET can be a bit of a hit and miss. So we have actually redone the plumbing ourselves. There's a little dev server running behind the scenes that does the orchestration between your IDE and the running app. So in addition to that, now you have a little flame icon, right? It says hot design. So let me go into that. So this is hot design, right? And what we have done is transformed your running app. You can see like the app is still running right here in my taskbar. So the app hasn't stopped running, but we transformed it. We kind of, held the state of it for a little bit to say, you are going to design mode run. So this is your canvas to do your WYSIWYG style design and have lots of additional bells and whistles so you can go about seeing how your app runs. So you get this canvas and then everything becomes selectable as I hover my mouse over it, right? I can also still go into like an interactive mode where I cannot select, but I can still click on my buttons. I can do all the things, like I can pinch and zoom. I can use the app like my user would do. And then I can come back into my, normal hot design mode, right? So you get that dual option. You can undo, redo actions that you're taking. One of the things that is really hard to do with cross-platform is seeing how your app looks like in different states. So first up is light mode and dark mode, right? This is a big pain. It's good for accessibility to support dark mode, but you need to have the right brushes. You need to have all of that resources and that setup. All of it is taken care of from the get-go without anything. You get full dark mode and light mode support. One click of a button and it shows you how your app is going to look like. Now, in addition, this is also another pain point that I have, is how you test your app and see how it's working across all of these form factors, right? Because then you have to go first to Android, then to iOS, then to a tablet form factor, then to the web, then to the desktop. It's just like all of this stuff. Instead, you can just do it all right here. So you'll see all of this form factor selector comes in, and I get a width and a height, so I can choose what I want. So what if you wanted to see how your app looks like on a phone? So, one click and we show you, well, how does it look like on a slightly bigger surface, like maybe a tablet, maybe like a web interface, maybe like a flat, like a desktop interface. I can do all of that. And I can, once I'm on this, I can zoom in, right? I can really go in here down to, and I zoomed in too much and it went off a little bit. There you go. So I can really make sure that my everything lines up exactly the way I want, like pixel perfect rendering. And I can hit this one button here to say just auto fit, make sure I can see the whole UI, right? So a little bit of work right out of the gate that takes care of some of your deployment needs. And again, my app is still running, so I can hit this hot design button back once. Now I'm back to my app, so the app never stopped running, right? This is the nice thing that we're trying to do. Okay, so while the app is running, I think I zoomed out too much. Let me go back in a little bit more. Yeah, like that maybe. Yeah, there you go. That's a good place to keep it. And again, this thing is floats around, so I can dock it anywhere. This is the hot design surface. So over here, what you see is what's called the toolbox. This is all the UI that I ever want to add to my apps, and it's all right there, just the old school like toolbox, except now you can bring in any third-party tools. So all your Maui tools are welcome, all your WinApp tools are welcome, any type of UI that you can think of, add it as a reference to your project and it'll show up right here. And beyond that, it's just a drag and drop to your folder. Now, under that, we also have an elements tree. This is another big pain point here with modern .NET cross-platform dev is you are laying things down design-wise on a visual tree, right? And it's never in absolute positioning, because that takes out a lot of the fun, and you don't want absolute positioning unless you really know what you're doing for a specific device. It's all flowing, right? And it's all based on parent-child relationships. on complex UI, you get lost as to where you are at, what's the hierarchy. This is the visual tree hierarchy. So I can click on any one element and notice how in the element tree, it shows me, hey, in that main page, you have a stack panel, then you have an image, a text box, and so on. So as I hover over these things, it tells me what each one is, and I can choose from the element tree, I can choose from the design canvas. So the middle section is called the canvas. Now, once I do select something, you can see already on the right hand side, this is my, I am going off to my other screen here. I'm trying to zoom in on this one here, the text block. This is the property window, right? So all of the things that I commonly want to change about my UI show up here. And it starts out with some style selectors. So again, all of your built-in styles, you can change things on the fly. Then we have a smart collection. These are the most commonly used properties for that UI, or your most recently used ones. And then there's all, which is a collection of all the properties that UI has. If you know what you're looking for, there is a search button. You can search for it quickly. So that's the point of it, right? However, what I really like is you can do multi-select. So notice how I hold down my command key. I am choosing these 3 pieces of UI all together, and I can change properties for all of them. Like this one is using like a margin of 10. So let's make it 20. And you can see everything is a little bit more spaced out, right? And the other thing that you noticed here is hot reload is still connected, right? So my app is running, but hot reload is noticing that I'm changing things up. So let's go back to our IDE here. And all of this, the image, the text folder, you see the margin is 20. So it's already changed it. And if I change it back to 10, not 100. 100 makes it way too big, just 10, right? And come back, it's already down to a 10, right? So your IDE and your design surface remain in sync at all times, right? Which is really beautiful. So again, this is just a quick look at hot design. So what you can do is, once you are building up your UI, you can start from a blank canvas, right? And then you can take your button here and you can add a button right down there. It shows up here because it's left aligned and so on, and you can change up all of the alignment. And the button now is going to be sitting somewhere right here. That's your empty button, right? So I'm adding things to my XAML. I don't have to hand code. I can change up all my properties right here visually. So it's a runtime visual designer. And from that element tree itself, I can say change the parent, or I can just go ahead and delete the button and go back to the IDE. It's gone. Right, so it is instantaneous. It is your app is running, and nothing changes until you close the app and you come back, and all of your code changes are saved in your IDE. So it stays in sync. Any questions? Anything I'm missing? Any doubts?
I'm not seeing anything else in chat, so
okay,
we're good.
All right, I'm looking at the time here. Maybe another 15 minutes till like Sam kicks me out, but I'll try to show you a few more advanced things, right? So this is just a quick look at hot design. Now let's go back in here. We're going to turn off the app here, and notice how easy it is for me to change up where this app wants to run. So I can do iOS and Android. Obviously, let's do browser WASM. And let's make sure I have the right thing going here. Let's choose WebAssembly debug. I can debug as well, and I can do the same things. Now let's run this again without debugging here, but now notice it does .NET 9 browser WASM. So this is what a lot of the other .NET stacks cannot do, because it takes like years of engineering to pull off things in your browser. So for those of you who might remember, like the early days where we all loved XAML and we wanted to do C# and XAML on the browser, we had Silverlight until Apple and everybody came and said, no, plugins are done. You're not doing any of that. But we loved the dev experience. Now you have it back, just done so much better. So in here, what you see is the exact same app, right? Everything works, and hot design works here as well in your browser. But you have a choice here. If you chose native stack, then you can see divs and HTML elements. If you chose Skia, then we will paint a Skia canvas, make it pixel perfect, and make it the same and looks the same and works the same everywhere, right? So some nice choices there. Makes sense? So this is kind of like the hello world experience. Like you write XAML, you write C#, and then we take care of the plumbing. So your dev experience, your design experience is that much better. Okay, so let's jump into some more things here. Now, one thing just to quickly point out here, you'll notice that here, This is using MVVM. So you can see like the text boxes here, like it's bound to a step. This one's bound to the counter. And there's a little view model down here somewhere. This one just has an observable property. So it's, you got a count, you got a step, and then every time you hit the button, the counter goes up. That's how simple it is. And, you know, main page.xaml, I don't think it does anything, just initializes it. It's already, you know, wired up, you know, with the default bindings. But if I show you the same app, again, I don't need to run it, but let's look at MVUX for a second. That was MVVM. Let's do MVUX. So this one here is the same exact app, except you see things done a little differently here. This one actually doesn't even have like all of the plumbing that's needed. So see, notice here, Unachak is saying, hey, I see some problems. You can ignore that if you know what you're doing, or you can just let it fix what it needs to. So here, you'll notice that the binding is like a little bit more inline here. And let's go back to the main model here. You can notice how the counter goes up and how the state of the whole app is kind of maintained in between the app runs. So just a slightly different way of how you do the plumbing. So you have some choices here. You know, I am squarely in the MVVM camp, but again, I know newer developers love, you know, MVUX and MVU a lot more. So again, do what feels right to you. Okay, let's look at a little bit more stuff here. Let's look at a slightly different hello world, because often, you know, our apps are making API calls and we're getting stuff down and we're showing a list of things, right? That's very common for mobile apps or web apps as well. So this one here, what I tried or wanted to do was, this is one of my favorite playgrounds. I don't know if anyone else uses it. This is called JSON placeholder. So if you just want random APIs to call and just, you know, see some data in your app, this is a great, you know, mocking framework. They have lots of these, you know, endpoints, like we're talking RESTful endpoints. These are posts and comments. You can actually do the HTTP CRUD operations, like the create, update, delete, and and so on. I think they refresh every like 10 minutes or so. So you can, they don't care about maintaining state. So if I go to JSON placeholder dot posts, you will see that this is a simple API. It brings back some IDs, some titles, and some bodies. It happens to be in Latin. So I wanted to play around. Like, what if I wanted this list in my app, right? So that's what this one here is. So you'll notice that in my view model, I have a simple class that says post, and it just marries up kind of exactly what I have in my cloud. Then I new up a new HTTP client. I'm going to that same URL. I am bringing back an observable collection of posts, and this is the magic of modern C#, right? So everything can be serialized and deserialized all within the same line. So no more need for like Newtonsoft, and you can still use it, but the .NET JSON object serialization is pretty darn good as well. So I am making a HTTP call, getting a collection of posts down, and I'm deserializing it back up into an object collection of the type post. So once I have that, this is my main page.xaml. So when the page comes up, I'm going to make that call. Do it over async and await, and I'm going to assign that list view to say, here's my collection of posts, go render that, right? So let's run this again on a desktop form factor. Let's make sure I have desktop selected. Yep. And I just wanted to show you what like a real world experience looks like with Hot Design. So the app is going to start back up, and it's going to do a call. And before we even switch to the app, you can see like it's running. It's a simple desktop app. I can scroll, I can click, and I can do whatever. But this is where you kind of see the example of where Hot Design really shines. So let me go in here into Hot Design, and now the app is still running, right? And this is where we always, used to get flustered, where I have some design time things and I have my runtime time things. What if they were the same, right? So I can choose that list view in there, and I can say edit a template. So now what you're seeing here, XAML devs are known to love our templates, right? This is how we declare how each individual item in my collection looks like, and it's repeatable. So now I am actually seeing real data because my app is running, right? It's not a fake service. It's not anything fake. My app is still running, and I can click on any item in it, and I can change up all the properties. Like I want it to be a different color. I want it to be a different layout. I can change all of that in one place, and I'm seeing it adjust live. and then it just comes back to the app and it's running, right? So that's the beauty of it. So let me actually show you this in a slightly more advanced app, because a lot of these hello world things are nice to see, and then you go back to your gigantic enterprise app and you're like, oh, this is a lot more complex, and things fall apart. So we thought about this quite a bit as well. So this one here, this is all open source stuff, by the way. You can go look at it anytime you want. This is an app called Uno Chefs, right? We chose food because it's ubiquitous. Everyone loves food in some sort, and keeps us alive, right? So this is a cooking app. It's a chef's app with recipes, right? So let's run this on a desktop. I'm doing desktop because it's just the quickest way to run. I can do an iOS or Android as well. So this one has hundreds and thousands of lines of code. It's a very complex app, but you will see that the same things that we did work to scale as well. So I'm going to launch this app and give it a second to spin up. I see a question in the chat room. Let me get to that in just a second, Dimitri, once I show you this. So this is the desktop app, right? So let's make it full screen. Let's skip this. There's an authentication here, but I can skip all of that stuff. So this is the app, right? And it's gorgeous because it's meant to be a reference app. It has all the bells and whistles and complexity that a enterprise app would need. Has different types of lists of things. I have my favorites, and it's a complex app. It's very visual. It has lots and lots of sample data and so on. So in here, if I go back into hot design the same way we did, now you will see the visual tree is really long and complicated because it is a big app. It is a big, busy UI, and I can scroll around. I can see just the hierarchy of things that we have visually. So again, the same things apply. I can see how this app looks like in dark mode or light mode. It's beautiful. But here you will see that I can go inside of this and I can say, show me the value template. Like this is the collection view that's showing me a list of things. And once I'm in there, I can say, show me the template again. So I can edit that template. So again, the same thing that I showed you, but notice how visual things are. You're not doing anything fake. Your app is still running, and you are able to scroll through and change the things that you want in real time. So let's say for here, this one here, I want the, let's say, font size to be a little bit bigger, right? And it's right there. It's reflected right here. And if I go back into exiting hot design, you see that this text is a little bit bigger because I made that change, right? So it's always in sync, and I can make any changes in my XAML, in my IDE. Let's actually show you that. So let's see what we can change really quick. Let's go into the home page here. This trending now, right? So this is the text box that shows up here, right? So what if we just changed some XAML here, saved it, go back to the running app, and you can see like it's instantaneously updated, right? And then I can do the same things that I did, where sometimes like when you are talking to a customer and they want to change like one small thing deep inside the app, and you'll have to bring up a new developer up to school, speed as to where that piece of code exists. Well, just let them play around with it, and you can actually change the thing that you need to change right in house. So here, let's go into interactive mode, and now I can actually change, and I can scroll and zoom around on the app. Let's tap on this one. This one has a few pages, like it's showing here are the ingredients for your recipe. Here are the things you need, and here's some nutritional information, like who doesn't like avocado toast, right? So here, let's just say this one here is like a chart and a graph and a bar chart, and this is what your user really wanted to change. So I'm going to come out of here and go into selection mode. So notice how, again, it's showing me all the deep, things that this thing is under. So let's scroll over here. So that's a chart control deep inside, several layers of visual hierarchy. But I don't need to know exactly what the hierarchy is. I can just select and choose it. Here you can see that it's using a few brushes, like that's a protein, fat, and carbs. Let's just say I want to change something small in here. That's the protein brush. What if I wanted to change up the color, right? So I made it aqua, and immediately you can see the app is running, and it's picked it up on hot reload, and it's changed it on the fly here. And let's go back to our ID here. I know that's in the recipe details page. somewhere down here. Oh, there you go. So this is the chart control. See, the protein brush is now aqua, right? So again, we're talking about that instantaneous back and forth between your IDE and your running app, right? All right. Let's answer a quick question here from the chat room. How do you handle authentication for different platforms, or do you have to do it yourself? I see. Okay, authentication is not fun, Dimitri, because it is complex and you should not roll your own. We have all maybe tried writing some of it. So let's go back to that template that we have in there. You will notice that we had a few options. So let's go in here. Let's look at auth, right? So you can do custom, where it's a user ID and password. Hopefully you're encrypting things if you store things in a SQL server. Then you have all of this other things, like these are the OpenID Connect things. So what it will do is walk you through a setup where you have to have some plumbing of your own, because now you're saying you're going to do, open ID type connections. So you have to have a server where it is well protected, and the user is going to try to connect to the server. You're going to give them a token back, and then your app needs to have a URL where you can respond back with the the JWT bearer token, and then once they have the token, any further communication can be over that with that token. But yes, because this is, some of it is custom work, right? So you have to roll a little bit of your own, but there's some help, and there are SDKs from OAuth and OpenID, which will get you a long way down, but you have to implement some of it yourself, because it's custom stuff that you're doing. All right, so time is flying. Sam, is it okay if I keep folks for 10 more minutes? If so,
absolutely, please do.
Okay, so let me show you just a couple of things on the edges of what we talked about, and then you'll get to see the bigger picture. The Maui question came up front, so let's talk about that really quick. So what I'm trying to show you here, this is an Uno platform app, but this one here has a few extra things to it. So it's not, again, either or. You have some of the benefits of the Maui UI, if that's what you want, but you see that Maui doesn't reach every platform, and you want that productivity with some of the tooling that you have. You can bring all the UI that you want. So this one here has two projects. This is the actual Uno platform app, and then I have a separate project called Maui Embedding. It has Maui controls in it. This one is kind of pretty much like a Maui app with all of the target frameworks and some references. Notice how I'm bringing in any type of UI that you want from Telerik or the vendors like Syncfusion, DevExpress. It's all good. So once you have it here, this is the way the Maui app kind of starts out. So we are using that builder system. We are bringing in Telerik here. This is the embedded control, which is the Maui page that you want to bring in. Notice how it has images, labels, text, and there's a little barcode in here. And this is the main page of my app, where I have my Uno layout here. This is C# complaining about something, which we can ignore for now. I don't know what that is. All right. So this is where I have a stack panel, I have a text block, and I have a Maui embedding. So let's go ahead and run this. Desktop is fine. Let's make sure we have desktop selected here as well. Actually, let's do iOS, because we have been doing desktop all along, right? So let's do iOS, iPhone 16 Pro Max. That's fine. So let's choose, again, these are the little tricks that I've learned, like sometimes Victor, if you can mute yourself, please. Thank you. So I have learned that the debugging platform and the platform that you choose from VS Code, they ideally like to be in sync. So I will always make sure to check that. So let's do iOS, and let's do a run without debugging, just to show you really quick like what that looks like. So it's running on .NET iOS, and it's going to try to launch. And this is a cold start, so the iOS simulator is going to come up. Everything is a native app, right? So we do actually go talk to Xcode, get the app package back and load up the simulator, and then transfer it over the wire to the simulator. So the same things apply for iOS dev. Yes, you do need an Apple computer somewhere because it needs to run Xcode, and this is an Apple restriction. No one can get us around it, but that Apple computer can be in the cloud or can be like a little Mac Mini that you want to throw somewhere. So what you see here is an iOS app. This is a mix and match scenario. So that label, Hello Uno Platform, is our label. This label is a Maui label. That barcode is a Telerik barcode. You can bring in Syncfusion or DevExpress. So any type of Maui UI that you want to reuse, it all works, right? Except now you go to so many other places. But there are some restrictions in there. So like Maui does not support all the platforms. So you cannot just take it to Linux because Maui doesn't support Linux. So that's where like our UI comes in, and all of Uno platform UI will work the same way everywhere. So that's just a quick look at Maui embedding. Now, just for some of you who said you do web stuff, I wanted to show you that really quickly. So web stuff is also welcome. Because a lot of unless you're in a startup, you're not doing just one app. You have multiple apps that you're maintaining. So if you can share code, nothing like it, right? So this is a Uno platform app. What I wanted to show you was this one here in the CS proj. You'll notice that I am bringing in this thing called the web view. This is like a modern abstraction, and it's careful and sensitive of which platform that you are running your app on. So based on if it's iOS or if it's Android or if it's Windows or Linux, it gives you a modern web browser component without the shell, so you can just render any web UI on top of it. So main page XAML doesn't have anything. It just says, hey, I have a web view. Main page XAML.cs says, okay, fine, you have a web view. Let's just navigate to a URL, right? So if I run this app, let's choose desktop because it's faster. Desktop is selected, and let's go run this app. So without anything, like if you have a URL to point people to, they might not notice that it's a native app within a shell, right? So here comes a desktop app, looks the same way on Windows as well. But this is the whole website actually that's loading up. But it has some responsiveness built in, so your menus change, but you get the idea. Everything is a web app. But what if you wanted to do a little bit more custom stuff, right? So let me turn off this line of code, and I'm going to go into main page XAML. I'm going to turn off this one here. I'm going to turn on this other segment of code. I'm going to walk you through what that does in a second. I'm just trying to say that if you wanted to do JavaScript or any communication between C# and JavaScript, that's possible too. So what we're trying to do here is render some random JavaScript, right? So and some HTML. So this web view is going to start out rendering a div tag. It's going to be in the color blue, right? And then we're going to have some JavaScript come in. It's going to find, like, this is DOM, right? So we are going to go through that DOM and find that div, and we're going to change that background color to red. So it's going to start out as blue, and then it should be red by the time the page launches. And then here is a little bit of random JavaScript. I'm doing a 1+1. I want to show that in a div tag. And here is a JavaScript function that I'm calling. So if your HTML, CSS, JavaScript had some JavaScript functions you want to call, that's perfectly possible as well. We are passing in a message called hello from world, and we are receiving that message back in C#, right? So let's go run this. And you should have a desktop app here. Notice how this thing is red. That's the JavaScript function of 2+2. And here is JavaScript of hello world from JavaScript, right? So C# and .NET and JavaScript, there is a bit of a wall in between, but with the right interop, they can talk to each other pretty well. Now let's do one last thing before we stop, just to kind of hint the promise of what's possible. What if you were doing Blazor or Angular or React or any other SPA things as well? Well, you have your thing working in the web, that's fine. But what if you wanted to bring it to native and actually use that interop quite nicely as well? So here is, like, the app name kind of gives it away. It's called Uno Angular. So what we are doing here is we have an Angular app that is, it's command line built. So let's go into the code directory and I can show you that. So this is Angular CLI. So I can do npx, create an Angular app, and then I can do an ng build to actually build the app. And then what you get out of it is a static website, right? So this is all of the static assets of my Angular app Now it's just all flattened out. It's just pure HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and it's ready for me to take this to Azure or AWS, wherever I want to deploy. Or I can just bring it to my native app here as well. So this is an Uno platform app in my iOS resources. I've simply dropped those files in here. And main page XAML simply has that same web view. Main page XAML.cs says, hey, I'm a web view, but I can deal with some local HTML content. So I'm pointing into web content, which is like this folder up here, which is my web content folder. So I'm just bringing in some static web content. I'm just saying, go render the index HTML of this app. So let's do this on iOS, because iOS is the folder where I had marked it as resources. You can do this for every other platform, but then you need to make sure that it's bundled in as a resource, because these are simply static files at this point. So let's choose iOS, and we go back and we hit run. So hopefully what you'll see is an Angular app inside of an iPad or an Android simulator or your Windows or your Mac as well. So lots of options. We'll give it a second. Starting to launch, because I chose an iPad, so it has to pull up a different simulator now. All right, so you saw the Uno starting up, and here's the Angular CLI app. This is the older 616 Angular bits, but same idea. So an Angular app that's running, and you can actually have C# and TypeScript talk to each other as well. So lots of things, to get your interest, hopefully. Lots of samples, lots of help in terms of how we do hot reload and hot design together. I don't have time, but you can do Figma. You can do lots of different things with different types of UI. So notice how you can have built-in UI, you can bring in Maui UI, you can bring in third-party libraries. So everything that you see from Syncfusion, Infragistics, Live Charts, Windows Community Toolkit, it all works, right? So it's a really nice, rich place to start, building up your things like themes. Notice how we can start with Fluent, but you can do Material, Cupertino, just like that. So at the end of the day, don't trust anything that I say. Please, please, please. If there's one thing that I can ask you folks to, try doing, is realizing that there's a lot of promise in, what we are building and the types of toolings and frameworks that we have at our disposal to go change the world. So, software runs the world. Let's go change the world. I went probably just a little tad over an hour, but thank you so much for spending an hour with me. A couple of resources if any of you want to go try. But please, please, please try it yourself. Just sign up, get the bits, and try with any of the sample apps, and just try building something simple yourself. You're going to see the benefits of the productivity boost that we're trying to bring. All right, nice. So I'm going to stop here. Sam, anything?
No, appreciate it, but I wanted to pause for a moment and give the audience a chance to chime in with any comments or questions. Feel free to do it either verbally or in chat.
Oh, I see. Folks were saying like I talk very quickly when I have to, and then I really like to slow down if I had more time. But yeah, I was trying to shoot for an hour because we all have to go have dinner, put our kids to bed, and do other family stuff. Dimitri had another question. Can you bring an existing Angular app to Uno? Yeah, no, it doesn't care about which version of Angular. And again, this is some of the plumbing which we are trying to flush it out a little bit more. We have a customer who wants to do a lot of this, so expect a lot more updates with the docs. But as you saw in the examples, it doesn't care what version of Angular or React or Vue or Next or Vercel, anything that you want to bring, as long as you understand that there is no extra plumbing to do some of the processing that JavaScript does. So as long as you do all of that pre-processing and it's flattened out, then a web view is a web view. It will happily render Blazor, Angular, React, whatever you give it. As long as it's static, then that's where it runs. But it doesn't have Node.js or any other runtime. It does have .NET, so if it's a Blazor app, then yes, you can do a little bit more. But for anything JavaScript, it has to be flattened out and brought over.
Very good.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? And we got one more. Dimitri says, that sounds good. Thank you.
So that's the social of me on most places. So please, please, please reach out to me if you have any questions, comments, thoughts, concerns after this. We really pay attention to certain feeds like Reddit or Discord. So please get hold of us. Don't struggle in isolation. Please talk. There's a vibrant community building stuff, and at the end of the day, this is all .NET, right? It's modern take of taking .NET cross-platform, and hopefully with all the tooling, you see that how productive you can be.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, Sam, do you want to do the raffle today?
Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a couple wrap-up slides, and I got some links posted in the chat window. But
sorry,
I definitely
I'm getting ahead of you.
I'm sorry?
I'm getting ahead of you, so sorry.
Oh, no worries. It's all good. All right, so Dimitri stated, great presentation, very much appreciated, and likewise, I also echo his sentiments as well.
Thank you.
And if I may, let me go ahead and share my screen. So there are a few links that I pasted over in the chat window, and we'll go through those. So as far as the recording, it will be posted on my YouTube channel, and the link for that is posted in the chat window. However, please subscribe to get upload notifications, and the same thing for the tech events that are also posted on my blog, samnasser.blogspot.com. And again, please subscribe to that to get the updates. With regards to the feedback eval, the link for that is also in the chat. If you would please take a moment to fill that out so we can provide Sam with some constructive criticism. In addition to the constructive criticism, we'll also be raffling off one license to Uno Platform Studio. And thanks to Sam and the team at Uno, we're going to be auctioning or giving away one license every month for the next 6 months for the meetings. So basically, once you fill out the eval, you will be randomly selected, and then I will ask for your email and then pass it on to Sam, and then from there on, you will get the license in the email. So thanks again to Sam and the Uno team. And the other thing I wanted to mention are regional events. So November 4th is the Capital Area .NET User Group, and this is a hybrid group that meets out of the DC area. And they have virtual as well as in-person, and I will be presenting there on all things AI Foundry agents. So that's November 4th. Feel free to check that out. These links will be posted on my blog. On November 12th, which is the second Wednesday of the month, is the Azure Cleveland User Group. And on November 13th is the Akron AITP User Group. And they're going to be meeting in person in the Akron area. And November 19th, the week before Thanksgiving, is going to be the November meeting of this group, the Cleveland C# User Group. And then the following Thursday, November 20th, is going to be the Greater Lansing User Group for .NET users. Again, these links will be posted on my blog. Also, another thing that we always like to cover are jobs. So if you're hiring or if you're looking, please make yourself known. Do we have any people in the job market currently or anyone looking for work?
I'm looking.
All right, Aaron. What do you do, Aaron?
I'm a software engineer, currently between jobs.
Very good. But in the .NET platform, Angular,
Yes.
Java, what area?
Yes, in the .NET platform. That's what they were using at my previous workplace.
Okay, very good. And on the opposite end of the token, is anyone hiring currently? And if not, then let me share this link with you, devitjobs.com. This is a website that I think is very interesting. It allows you to search on the different technology platforms, whether you want to work remotely or in person, the geographical region that you're looking for, salary, position, and so forth. So it has all sorts of filters that allow you to filter on all the available jobs in the current market. Last but not least, my contact information. You can always reach me by email, snasser@nistechnologies.com. In addition, you can find all my socials, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, or X. Everything is available over on Linktree. And lastly, if we're not connected on LinkedIn, please, let's do so. It's a great platform for connecting with others and posting articles and sharing information with other people. And so with that, thanks again to Sam for a great presentation. Thank you all for attending, and certainly look forward to seeing you all next month. Good night, everyone.